inheritance, and much more, immediate working functions, and so much we're going to cover about here. So so the main important thing is here. So I'm going to decode each and every topics in a way that you can see that it literally how it is happening, so how the internal working is doing, and everything you can able to done with that, so in the way that it is going to be taken. So if you have any doubts regarding whenever we are writing codes and in between, you can tell it in the chat box. I can able to see your chat in the screen and I will reply as much as possible. Okay, so give your message in the chat box if you have any doubts in that means. Okay, so if you are here, if you already in, if you are in time, you already log in for the live, just tell your names in the comment box, and I will see that and get familiar with those names. Thank you for that. And hello all. And today what's we actually going to cover, we you all know that advanced concept we're going to cover. Sorry. So before that, I tell about the procedure. So we will give you the attendance in between the meeting, so you need to fill that form. So if you fill that forms, you will get a participation certifications for completing this advanced to mastery workshops in JavaScript. Okay, received from the team of TWT. So you will give it that. Okay, let's hope we will get started with that. Okay, so I use, and instead of using the Visual Studio Code Editor, I use some online compilers. So I use the compiler, which means the debugger named JSBin. So why I'm using this, just for default purposes, just for teaching purpose, that is what I'm using. So, and also even I just going to use more in console also. So if you are in Visual Studio Code or Atom, Sublime, any code editor, that's fine. You can write whatever the code that we are practicing today, and you can check it out how it is working, and exactly same is going to happen. Only for JSBin, it will be more convenient to see the console and the JavaScript file both aside, so that's why. So here I can write the JavaScript file, and here is the console. I hope that I don't want to teach you all about the basics, what is console, what is the thing, what is that thing. I think so, like if you know, if you are come here for advanced JavaScript, you already know about that. And if you don't know about that, there are a couple of videos for beginner JavaScript has been I will take for a long while. You can check it in the YouTube channel to familiar with the beginner to advanced JavaScript, then advanced to mastery JavaScript. If you are attending, that will be more great. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so here is the code that we're going to write, and this is the console. We will get result. For example, I just show you console.log, and here we will write like this. And once you press run, we can able to see this, and also it will be where it will be, you can able to see the same thing in here also. Okay, in my console also it will be kept. Okay, you can able to see that. Okay, so we will use console for some purposes, because this JSBin will not work with some of the syntax for ES6. So that in that cases we will work with that. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so the first concept we going to see is going to be the classes, which has been introduced in ES6. And as you know about that, JavaScript is an object oriented programming language. Okay, how many of you accept that JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language? Just tell it in the comment whether JavaScript is an object-oriented programming or functional-oriented programming, what it is. Just tell it in the comment, because the classes confusion starts from there itself. So just tell it in the comment, just for your knowledge. Okay, so we can go with that. Okay, so we're going to see about classes. Classes, as you know, it is a blueprint. What is this? It is a blueprint. With the help of this blueprint, we can able to create objects. So objects are a way of writing program, and with the help of object, we can able to construct our applications much more constructive. You heard about the how to write the object oriented programming language, and the principle, 4 paradigms, 4 pillars, so much of words, so much of confusion, right? So those things is it. Yeah, so tell it in the comments whether whether JavaScript is an object oriented programming language or not, or functional oriented programming language. Just tell it, just we are going to interact with them. Okay, so good evening all. Okay, so just this classes we're going to discuss first of all, and we to see why we need classes and what is the evolution. So why actually some problem will be there, so the problem is getting solved, and it becomes another thing, and it becomes other thing, and it becomes other thing. Finally we have the classes, and we don't know what the updation is going to happen for classes also. There are a lot of proposal has been made, and object oriented, yes, of course. Okay, so here we're going to see about classes. If I say classes, then you can learn the concept like factory function and also constructor function, and also you can came with the concept prototypal inheritance. Okay. So actually these are not separate concept, so they are actually single thing. So factory function is get upgraded and it bit little bit updation has happened for the factory functions, and finally it has been came up with what it just came up with the constructor function, and the constructor function is it gets updations, and it is just make some changes, and the prototypal inheritance, not in the constructor function, not the updation. We can say some of the issues that we need to solve. So we use the prototypal inheritance to come up with, and finally we came up with an ideology of classes. Okay. So the second question I want to ask you: how many of the people knows some other programming language other than JavaScript? I just want to ask you, like any other object-oriented programming language, like C++, Java, like that. If you have any object oriented programming language you already know about, you can tell it in the comment. Okay. So I can say if it is JavaScript, if people's telling you or commented in two of them commented, it is very good object oriented programming language, object JavaScript functions or object oriented programming language. Okay, good. So if it is object oriented programming language, then JavaScript, what if the JavaScript is a functional oriented language? I'm asking either JavaScript is a function oriented language or object oriented language. I'm asking like that. Okay, so if you are telling object oriented language, then JavaScript cannot do the functional programming. It cannot do. So that's the question. That's the question. Just want to think about and tell it in the chat box. Okay, so we're going to discuss these things much more clearer in the upcoming classes. So now we just going to decode this classes and what it is this, and not only we are going to cover some of the things from factory functions and constructor functions and also. Okay, so let me see that what is the problem and how it becomes a solution, and what is this problem having it in each and every topic, and how that problem is get solved in upcoming classes. That's what we're going to see about that. Okay, so yeah, the first question is, yeah, classes is a blueprint for creating objects. So actually why we need classes? So well, we know that objects, so why we actually need object? So the way of writing program, so you know that keeping the data and behavior in the same place, that's what we created object. So why we want to keep the data and the behavior in the same place? Because it is becomes structured when we creating an object and we creating an application. It is a structured one, right? So we can able to know what exactly is happening, and we can able to easily debug. It is a way of writing program instead of writing procedural way. So what is a procedural way of writing? Just simply writing line by line. This is a variable, and if someone clicks this what to happen, and go next, and this is a variable, and someone clicks this what to happen, like that. As it is we are writing. So when we are facing with some errors, this is very hard to debug, and also it is not in the proper way. So when we are grouped together and writing some structured way of objects, the data and the behavior in same place, we can able to achieve the optimized way of writing code. We can able to see that. For example, creating a car object, I just say const, I just go for car, and this is how we will create. I just say the brand, it's going to be, we can give the brand name like this. Okay, and we can give the model. Okay, so I just want to give the model as 2022, and here I just want to give a behavior, which means the function. So for example, I just want to start the car. Just if the car is started, so then I just want to give a voice note who the person inside the car. I just like that. Okay, so what I just going to do, I just going to create an function, and that function is going to, in the console, it is going to log as car starts, like this, right? So this is how we will created it, and you can see that now we can able to see this, whatever the data that we have given inside it, it is more specific, and also the function is also more specific. So what is meant by that specific? So if I say specific, we can able to see we are wrapping it in an object, and this data and this function is going to be used, we can able to access this only when we are accessing the core object, right? So we are telling the program like, I need to access these data and function only if I want to modify something in the core, right? For example, if I want to access it, how we will access it? If I say console.log, and if I want to access, we need to call the object and we need to tell the brand like this. If I say car.brand, and if you run this, you can able to get the what is the brand of it. It is more specific, right? So if we don't follow the object oriented programming languages, then what we will do? So we will create let car brand is equal to Audi, let car model is equal to 2022, and we will say create a function giving the name of start, and we will say console.log car outside the function, right? So something like this, like a procedural way. So this is not let a great way of writing program. Why it is? Because you can able to understand why it is not a great way of writing program, because it is easily pollute from outside, and also we can able to we don't know which function is used for which data, and which data is going to give, which is going to be shared with any other function. So that is why we have the structured way. We are grouping together and constructing something called as object. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So that's why we have this object. So here comes in another problem. Right now we solved it. Okay, so by using object we can able to get the data and the behavior in the same place. So now comes the next problem. What is the problem means? Okay, so what if I want to create n number of object, I want to create an replica of another object. For example, if car, I just want to use the same syntax. For example, the brand, model, the function, whatever it is inside, I just want to use the same syntax, but I just want to build it for some other different things. For example, I just copy this, the same thing, I just want to build it for bike. So instead of this, I just say Duke. And here what we can say, like 2022, like this. And like this. Okay, we have created it. So now what is the problem? We can able to just copy paste it, and we can just modify it, and we can able to change it, right? So there are several problems here. So what is the problem? First of all, it's memory management. You can able to see this function is also going to do the same thing, and this function is also going to do the same thing. You may think like, okay, so here it is car, here it is function. We can able to make the data dynamic by using the this keyword. Why I'm not telling the this keyword? Because we are keeping the this keyword secret, because we're going to cover that much things in the last of that advanced concept. Okay, so here I simply say starts instead of car starts and bike starts, simply saying starts. Okay, so here you can see this function, what even it is in the car, it is going to do the same thing, and it is in the bike, it is going to do the same thing. Okay, so the same function that is created for memory for twice, even though they are going to perform a same action. So just think about, they are going to give like they are going to perform the same action, but they are in memory for twice for different object. What if I want to create 100 cars, 100 bikes, then I need to create 100 functions, 100 methods inside an object, and like that. So what happens, the memories are allocated in the functions, and it is not that great way, right? So if all the memories are get allocated, even though they are going to produce the same result, they are going to be in the memory for at last, right? So they are going to be that. That's the first issue. And the second issue is going to be this repetition. So we are programmers, so we hate repetition, right? So whenever we are writing some code with repetition, it is a sign of going to get an error, right? So that's what we want to avoid, this repetition. So well, how we can able to do this? So that is why we have this factory function. So what is the factory function is actually did simply this is a function that will creates an object. So by using the function, it is an idea. By using the function, for example, by using the function, and we can name it as creating object. So I just say create object, and here we just get the parameters. What are the parameters that we need to get? We can get it like name, and we can say the name for like brand, and we can set the model like this. We can able to set it. And what we can do, if someone calls this, you just want to return an object, and this object is going to return an brand, and here it is going to name it as whatever the brand that you are getting. And the next thing is going to be the model, and what is the model that you are getting, it is going to return it. That is pretty simple, right? So if someone calls this is going to return an object. So that object is going to have a key of brand, and the whatever the parameters that we are getting, it is going to pass here and it is going to pass here. Let me see how it is working. Let us go here and I just simply say const car equal to, and here what I do, here what I'm going to do, I just simply going to say about this one, the brand. It is going to call this function create. You can make this to lowercase, much more defined. So you just say create obj, and here you can pass the brand like Audi, and here you can pass the model like 2023 like this. Okay, so now I just going to say console.log what is actually car. So I just simply write clear and I run it. You can say core has already been declared here. Sorry for that. So I just cut this thing. So you can understand the problem, right? So what is the problem? The repetition and the memory management. The functions are repeating in on the memory, so that is very danger. And also the repetition in writing codes, it is repeated. So I want to avoid. Okay. So we just going to refresh and we're going to run it. You can see we will get an core object. You can see the core object is created. If I want to create for bike, I simply say const bike equal to, and I just say create object. So this is a function I just having created, and here I just going to say this is a bike. So I just going to say Duke, and what is the model of it? It's going to be 2002 like this. So now if I log for bike, you can able to get, it is a create object. I think made a mistake. Yeah, here spelling mistake. You are going to get this bike object. So you can see what is what by using the factory function, what we are actually, factory function is nothing but a function that's creating a returns an object. That's what it is doing. So what we are achieving by using this, simply we are just achieving the repetition. Every time we are write the brand is equal to something, model equal to, the keys are repeated, right? So we have two problems. One is repetition and another one is memory management. You can able to see the keys are getting started to repeat it. So that is the problem we get solved. Right now I don't write the brand and model every time. I just want to call the function and just give the parameter, the object is created for me, right? So it is cool, right? So I don't want to repeat again and again for 1,000 function. I don't want to make 1,000 function to create it, right? So simply we can we can use the factory function and we can create it. But what is the problem here? The second problem that we have discussed, memory management. The functions keeps on repeating, right? So the first one is the repetition, that while we are writing we need to solve. We solved that by using factory function. It's so cool. And second one is the function that keeps on repeating again and again. So that is very dangerous because it's takes the memory, right? It will take the memory. So we need to solve it. So what if I want to give a method here? Well, we need to give a method here itself, right? So or otherwise you can pass a function and you can pass it here and you can able to take the function like that. You can able to create, you can able to pass in another function, but I'm going to keep that thing simple. For example, it is going to be same, right? So I just say start, and here I just going to create a function, and here I just going to say return, and it is going to be a string. I just say start like this. Okay, so like this. So now if I clear and I run it, you can able to see a function start with will be there. And if you call bike dot start, and it is going to return a function. So to evoke that, you need to give a parenthesis, and if you give it, you can able to get the start. Yeah. So what is happening here? So even though we stopped the repetition for brand and model, but we are still having the issue with this function. So it is still in the memory. You can able to see that when I log in the bike and if I log in the car, so it is going to be in both the side. You can able to see it is created twice. You can see for this it is created and for this it is created, right? So it is in the memory, so we need to solve it. So that is why this factory function we have updated, which means for solving that problem. So the factory function solved the properties repetition, just properties repetition, and the constructor, with the help of constructor function, what we can achieve. So with the help of constructor function, we can achieve much more dynamic. It is going to be included with this keyword we're going to see. And also we can able to access the prototype. With the help of that, what we can do, we can able to stop this repetition in memory. So we can write a code that is much more memory management, right? So we need to take care of it. So in JavaScript, why the memory is important means, because if you take any other programming language, the memory we will clean. right? So we need to clean the memory, so we will clean that. But JavaScript, it is an automatic, they clean the memory automatically. But that's a good thing, right? We don't care about the memory. But there is a problem with that. It is the automatic cleaning that is going to happen, that is called as garbage collection. So during that process, some of the memories they won't touch. For example, the memories that are created in globally, so that is very important, global scope. And the memories like event listeners, and the memories that's created with whatever that things you been created, mostly the global variables and the event listeners. And mostly they are not touchable, they are not those memories are stay permanent. So whenever we are creating an object, that is going to be in the global scope only, so they are going to be permanent. And also we are keep on adding so much of things inside, the function is repeating inside, then really we will come up with a message called memory leaks. You will get to that message when you create a something like when you use all the functions. So you just create a loop, and in the loop just add an infinite number of arrays. Just try to add an infinite number of arrays, you will just get a memory leaks message, you will just get that. Okay, so that's what. So now we have cleared one problem, we have another problem, the function, right? So what is constructor function? Well, the constructor function is also same, it's going to be a function that is going to create an object, but the syntax are much more different, much more dynamic. They use this keyword and they come that. For example, I just say function, we need to create a function. And for constructor function, it is good to start with caps. For example, like this, core obj, like this. So it is a recommended way to differentiate the constructor function from the normal function. Okay, so for developers we need to understand, right? So we need to give it's a good practice to give, right? So then just you need to give what are the parameters. I just going to say the brand, and I just want to say the name of it. Okay, so here instead of returning an object directly, what we will do, we will use the this keyword. So we will come up with this keyword. It is much more complicated than we think. Okay, but we will get understand at the end. So right now just understand this is going to be dynamic. I will tell what it is going to do. I just say this dot brand, this dot brand is equal to brand, and I just give this dot name equal to name, like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just going to create const, and instead of car object, I just go with object. Okay, so const car equal to, so in order to use a constructor function, you need to use the new keyword. So I will tell why we are using the new keyword and obj. And here you are calling the constructor function, and same like what is the parameter you will give, you need to give. So I just give an Audi, and here I just going to give an 2022, like this. And now if I ask for console.log, and if I ask for car, just clear, and if I run it, you can able to see an object is created in the way how the factory function work. But what is the difference? So what is this doing here, and what is new keyword is doing here? Well, just right now remember this is a property of, this is a property of that the function. For example, how can I say like that, this keyword, it's always represent the owner who creates it. For example, right now, don't confuse that, right now that this going to represent the car. Okay, if you create another object, then this going to represent that particular object. For example, like this const, and if you are coming up with bike, and now it is called the obj, and here I just going to say Duke. Yeah, I get a word in my mind. So this is a function that the object property of. That's what it is meaning. But right now here it is not acceptable. Just I will tell that. So if I clear, I just ask for bike, and if you run this code, you can get the bike also. So this is now dynamic. So it depends upon who calling, who is calling that constructor function, it will change it. So how it is changing? Because of this new keyword. Okay, remember that if you don't use new keyword and I just called car, you can able to see undefined. The reason why it is because the new keyword is something that is responsible for changing the scope of the this. So whenever you are using this keyword inside a function, that this keyword is going to represent the global object. You can able to see if I create a normal function and I just going to say start and I just going to create, and inside this if I call this and if I ask for console.log, just ask for the start. So what it is going to return here, it is going to return me the entire global object, which means the Windows object. You can able to see if I run this, you can able to see the entire Windows object will be there. Okay, so entire Windows object will be written. You can see object window, the Windows object, the whole browser object, it will be written. But here you can able to see the function. Here also we have this. Then why it is not returning window? Why it is representing car? The reason because of this new keyword. So the new keyword make the change in the scope of this, and it will making. So if someone calls car, someone calls car.brand, so now this is the property and this refers going to the car. If someone calls bike.brand, then this is the property, then it's going to represent that. The object which created with new keyword, that this is going to represent that. Okay, so that's what the constructor function will do. So here it is much more straightforward. So here it's also the same problem it's going to happen. For example, if I want to create a function, so how can I create a function? So simply you can say this dot start, and you can to say that a function like this, and we can create a return start like this, right? So by doing this, what's going to happen? You can log the car, and I just going to log the bike. Okay, so here if I run this, you can able to get the start method again and again in all your function. So the memory is again it's getting affected, right? So I don't want that. So then what I can do, we can just take this one outside the function. Okay, so what we can do means we can able to access the prototype of the function, and we can able to add the function to the prototype. So I will explain what is prototype, and we will discuss about the prototypal inheritance much more deeper in the upcoming classes. But right now, just understand what is going to happen. Let's see what is going to happen. Here I just going to say this obj, this is the obj, and I just going to say prototype dot, and what I want to add the function is going to be start, and I just want to add what function that I want to add. So I just going to add it, and I just going to paste it here like this. So now if I just clear it and if I run it, you can say set properties undefined settings. I think just a minute. Okay. Okay, we are having this. So now what we are going to do, we are going to access this one. I'm just going to cut it here, go for our console, and we will work straightforward in the console. So what simply we are doing, so we are going to set the function in the prototype. So by doing that thing, what we can achieve, we can able to save our memory. Okay, so like if I created it, you can able to see the core and object is here. So now here you can able to see the prototype that it is created it. So I just going to say prototype. You can able to see the constructor function, which means this function that is has the brand and name. So what is our core objective? We need to access this we need to access this prototype, and we need to add a function here. So if I add a function here, it is in the core prototype. So we don't want to use that memory again and again. So how we can do this? We can simply say obj dot proto, you can see obj.prototype, and here we just going to add start, and here we just add a function, and this function is going to have return, it's going to return as start like this. And now a start function is created in the prototype. We are setting object.prototype.start equal to function, and this function is now in the prototype. How we can see this? We ask for obj, and if I ask for obj, you can able to see the function is here. You can able to see there is no something here inside it. Okay, so the JS will little bit it will do the some weird concept when we are working with prototypes. Let us understand. So here I just going to say obj dot, how we can do, we can go for the car. We will ask the car, and car you can able to see an object is created, and top of the prototype you can able to see our start function is created and the constructor function is created. So it is working in console. What we can do now, we will paste this thing. So simply I will try to add here, just say object dot prototype dot start equal to a function that needs to return start. I'm going to achieve. Just created it. Cannot set the property of undefined, so it is throwing an error for here. Let us do that same thing in our console. Okay, I think start. So what is the function? What is the function? What is the thing that we have messed up here? I think we make a mistake in prototype. Let us ask for a car. Let us ask for obj dot prototype dot start equal to creating a function. Okay, so I think, but it has the caps only. Let us change this to small. That is clear. Yeah. Okay, so now it is created. Let us see what happening here. So let us go here, go for the console, and you can able to see an object is created, but you cannot see, you are not able to see the function. So where is the function means? The function, it's in the prototype. So what is meant by prototype? So whatever the things that we are actually using in the JavaScript, like the objects, functions, how it is working. If I give some value, it is returning something, and it is an argument, it is an parameter. How we can able to understand that? So this is because they are prototypes. They are already in JavaScript, right? So that is what. So a constructor function is already in JavaScript. So it is a function. We can able to use it. So that we directly add setting something to the prototype of what we created it. Okay. Simply this function is a prototype. Okay. So in this function, what we are doing, we are adding a method on top of it prototype. We are adding a method on top of it prototype. So whenever we are creating a variable, how it is understanding this is a variable, this is a string, because in backside something is happening, right? So it takes the function and it is looking into whether it is a string or whether it is a number, whether it is in correct syntax, and everything is happening. And once it is, you ask for the type of it, then it is returning it is a string, it is a number, like that, right? So something in the background is running, right? So that is called as prototype. Actually the absolute JavaScript it is. So entire JavaScript is an object. Okay, so in with the help of this object, there is two separated thing. One is object is separated into functions, a special function and special type of an object, that is called as array. So whatever the array that we are using, that is comes here. And what is the function that we are using? That is going to be the constructor function. It is going to construct whatever you are writing in JavaScript. That function, the special type of function, it's constructing for us. Whenever we are writing a string, it is telling it is giving access to all the string methods. It is considered as a string, then all the methods are getting accessed, and it is giving the data types, properties, and everything. Okay, so in top we have the object. You want to see that, just what you need to go, just go for here console. This is an object that is I am created. And how this object is created? This object is created by a constructor function. You can click here, you can able to see the constructor function here, it will be there. And how this constructor function is created? So this function is created by me. So then this function is need to created by something, right? So what is that? You can able to see in the prototype. If you go here, you can able to see what is the constructor function that is created. That is the actual JavaScript, a special type of function. We are accessing the function, and you can able to see the constructor function here also. So this is what creating, whatever the code that we are writing, it is creating here. So this is the actual thing. Everyone says JavaScript is an object, JavaScript is an object. Simply the object with these kinds of method, it's going to be the JavaScript. And with the help of this only, we are creating our own prototype, and we are creating our own data, and we are creating that. Okay, so what we are doing here, to save our memory, what we are doing, instead of adding here, so now in JSBin, I think it will be show the functions and all. But if you go and see it in the inspect, you can able to see in the functions, the functions is not added. It is in the prototype. So once it is in prototype, the memory is created only once. Remember that the memory is created only once. Whenever we want, whenever the object wants, it is go top for the prototype and look for whether the function is there or not. For example, in car, the function is not there. So I just ask for start. What happened? It is go one step top of it. You can able to see. If I simply ask for car.start like this, you can able to see the start function, but it is not in actual car. So you can use __ proto. So to go one step top of it, okay, to what is the prototype, how it is created. So if I go here, you can, sorry, dot _, you can able to see what is the prototype that it's created. You can see the that function is created by an object, and that object is containing this the start function. Okay, so it is in the prototype. If you go further, like __ proto, you can able to reach the top of the JavaScript object. So on top of it, nothing, you will receive null. Okay, so if you run this code, you can able to see this is the object actually the JavaScript is having. So this is actually JavaScript. With the help of JavaScript, we are creating a prototype that is going to be this one, and with the help of this prototype, we created this one. Okay, so if you go further, like __ proto __ like this, now you will receive a null message. So which means nothing on top of this object, nothing. So this is going to be the top. So on this object is further divided into an array, a special type of an object, that is the array. Okay, so and it has an object constructor and also a function constructor. When you are creating directly an object, you are accessing the object directly, the prototype as your prototype. If you are creating an object directly, you are accessing the prototype is going to be this object. When you are creating an object with the help of constructor function or any other function, then the prototype is going to be first the constructor function, on top of it the object will be there. If you have confused, don't worry about that. We will discuss that thing with the diagrammatic representations in prototypal inheritance. Okay, so now you need to understand what is the problem it solves. The problem it solves is the prototype. By adding it to the prototype, what we can achieve, simply we can achieve the memory, like it is stored only once in the memory, and we can able to access it. We don't want to create again and again. That's the thing that we can able to achieve. So simply that is what this prototypal inheritance is doing. But I asked one question before starting off the class, whether JavaScript is a functional programming or object-oriented programming. Some of them cleverly answered that JavaScript uses functional object-oriented programming language, and JavaScript function is an object-oriented. Yes, you have been right, but JavaScript is dynamic, so it is very flexible because of this only. JavaScript can able to do functional programming, and also Java can able to do object-oriented programming. When you type this question in Google, it will give an definition with some a little bit point out. They will point out something. You can able to see. I just go and Google it. You can say, is JS is functional or object-oriented program language, like this. And you can able to see, they can say, is JavaScript is a functional oriented programming language thanks to new ES6, like that. We can say that JavaScript is a both functional as well as object oriented programming language because of its first class feature it provides. That is fine. I think here you can see JavaScript is not a class-based object-oriented programming language. So this is the one thing that you need to understand. You need to just get things done. Like whenever you are facing some interviews or asking questions, people, if it is a functional-oriented programming language, yes, of course, classes are in JavaScript. Then actually, JavaScript is a class-based oriented programming language, right? But here they have been mentioned that JavaScript is not a class-based object-oriented programming language, but it still has a way of using object-oriented programming. Oops. In this tutorial, there's free code camp. They will mention it like that. Okay, so this is what you need to do. So what actually is happening? So then we have something called as class in our JavaScript to create object, right? So what is that? Simply, we will see that one. So I'm just going to say class. So class is also a blueprint, exactly like how the constructor function is creating. Okay, so classes, by with the help of classes, we can able to create objects. I just given a syntax, let obj. This is the syntax. You need to use the class and you need to say obj, and you just want to, it's like a function, you just want to run through it, and here you just want to use the constructor. Okay, so the constructor is a method. Whatever the property that you want to declare, you can declare it. For example, I just say name and I just say age like this. And here you can tell the exactly how you created in the constructor function. You need to create it like this. I just say this dot name equal to name, and you can say this dot age equal to age like this. Okay, so just a minute. I think letters, I think I just forgot about the syntax. Yeah, it's correct. Let us go here, and okay, so I will just give a comma. That's what. Okay, so just go here, and what we can do, this is going to do the exactly same thing. Just instead of function, what we are doing classes, and instead of having parentheses here, we don't have that. That's what. So here what we can do, we can create something like const car equal to the same thing is going to be new because it's going to be using the constructor way. So I just say object, and I just say give the name. It's going to be, I just give the name, and I just give the age like this. And here if I ask for console.log, and here if I ask for the car. Okay, so if you clear and if you run it, you can able to see an object is created exactly the same way how it is created, it will be created. Okay, so then what is the difference between this and that, and why in Google, okay, why in Google when ask for class based or something else, so they are saying classes, they are not a class based or object oriented programming. But here you can able to see, we can able to create an class. With the help of class, we can able to achieve, we can able to create number of objects. So what is the difference, what they are saying? Well, they are right. JavaScript is not a class based object oriented programming language. So whenever that's what the question I will ask, like you, if you are already experienced with some other object oriented programming language, you already know about what is class is it, right? So it is create an object, right? But in JavaScript, classes is not actually a thing, it's not a concept. That same concept how other programming language has, JavaScript is not having that concept. JavaScript is not having classes. So then what is this classes? Well, this classes is a newly introduced feature. It's just an syntactic sugar. Just remember, it's just a syntactic sugar of what we have discussed before, prototypal inheritance. So that's classes is just a syntactic sugar in JavaScript. Actually, classes is in JavaScript, classes is not an actual concept. Okay, by using classes, we are not creating object. We are not creating the object oriented classes. That is why they are mentioning class, not a class based object oriented programming language. That is true. They are created with the help of the constructor function in the background. Whenever I'm using classes, what is going to happen? So the prototypal inheritance method, that how we created a constructor function and we added a method in the prototype, right? The same exact thing is going to happen. It's just a syntactic sugar. Okay, for example, you can easily confirm them. How we can usually confirm? Just go for the console and inspect. Just go for console and clear it, and if I click the run button, you can able to see an object is here. When I add, you can able to see a constructor, the same exactly how we created the constructor function. In the console also it is created, it is aligned. So it is not something weird classes or something, just a syntactic sugar to understand. Instead of using prototypes and dot dash dash prototype dash dash, instead of using those prototypal words, because people get panicked, right? So that's why we are having the classes. It's much more familiar, we can able to use it, but the concept is not actually used. Okay, so they are different. In background they are still using the prototypal inheritance to achieve the object oriented. Okay, so just go for here. And if I want to add something here, we will see how to add it, right? We will call the thing and we will give the prototype and we will call it. And in classes it's much more simpler. How we can call it means, simply here we can simply call like this. And even you can use the object literal, just simply call the what's the function name that you want to give, like this. Just how constructor is called, like that. You can simply call start, it is a function, and I just, if someone calls the function, I just want to return start, like this. Okay, so now let us go and inspect here. Go for the console and clear, and if I run it, you can able to see the same exact thing. It is not here, but the start function, it is in the prototype, right? So the classes is in the backward. Whenever we are using classes, it still use the prototypal inheritance to achieve, to create the what objects. But objects or class, JavaScript is not a class based object oriented programming language. So if someone asks you in the interview question, you can ace the interview with giving this answer. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Okay, so that is what you are doing, that's what we are doing this. And by achieving this, the two problems initially we speak about, right? So the repetition for the property, it is handled by the default constructor function. And instead of handling the prototype, telling the prototype, using the prototypal inheritance, we can simply use, if I want to create another object, then you can simply use it and you can able to create it. Okay, so it is not, it stopped. So we have a concept called prototypal inheritance. So what is meant by prototypal inheritance? Simply, I have a prototype. So what is the problem that we have in object? Whenever I'm copy pasting, whenever I have a multiples of object, they are in the same syntax, same functions, that is they are getting repeated and the functions are occupying more memory, right? So to stop that, we are come up with the factory function, constructor function, prototypal inheritance, and finally the syntactic sugar classes. We achieved that. And now what is the next thing is, what if I want to create more number of, instead of more number of object with the same syntax, more number of classes, which means the prototypes with same syntax. For example, the same prototype I want to follow for another object, the same thing, like this. And instead of here, I just want to create two, like this. So now we can see the same, whatever the problem that we have repeated, it is again. So the attendants are in the comment box, you can fill it out and to get the participation certificate for Dave. Okay, so now what is the problem here? The same problem, it is repeated, and you can able to see, even though the functions are going to be same, it is going to be occupy in two memory space, right? So for this prototype, it has the same start function, and this prototype, it is going to have the same start function. So what I can do, what if I want to, what I can do it? So that is called as prototypal inheritance. So here it is classes. So this is called as class inheritance. So how can we inherit a prototype? How can we inherit a class? Simply, we can inherit a class by telling this is the name that you are going to create, and you need to use a keyword called extends, and you need to tell where you need to extend. So what is the prototype that you need to copy it, like you need to make it as a prototype. So what is that? The object is going to be my prototype. So it's just going to say obj, it is my prototype. So what I'm doing, I'm creating classes, I'm creating another prototype with same exact feature of this. So by doing this, what I can able to do, it is going to follow the same syntax. We can able to access to the properties and method. Okay, we don't want to write again and again. So simply right now, we don't want to write it again, and we don't want to write it again, this one. So simply we have created a class and the extension of object. Here you can say constructor. So this constructor, this constructor function is going to have name, age, with some extra thing. I'm going to add some extra thing with the default thing, with the extra thing. So how can I do this? I just going to say a name, age, and XP, like this. Okay, so here the age and name is already created. You can able to see this dot name, this dot age, it is already there. I don't want to use it, so I don't want to write it again. Simply, you can use a method called super, and whatever the data types that you need to, whatever the properties that you need to access from your parent, you can mention the name and age, right? So I don't want to write it again. Here you can mention it like name and age. So what is going to happen? This is going to write it here instead of superb age dot name and age. That just it's going to take the value. It's just going to take the syntax from that. Okay. So for only experience, we don't have that. So I just write this dot someone called expert, this dot expert, it's going to be expert. Okay, like that we can mention it. And you can ask about what about start. So start, when you use the superb, it is going to access all the properties and methods. So only properties you need to mention it. The start function is already it is already there in the prototype. So you can simply say, like for example, I can say end like this, and here I just say return is going to be end like this. So now what I'm going to do, I just going to create an object with this prototype that is an extended from this prototype. So now you can able to understand, I'm going to create an object. That object is created by this prototype. This object is created by this prototype, and that is created by a constructor prototype, and that constructor prototype is created by the JavaScript object. We can able to see the ladder in the console. Let's see how it is look like. I just going to create const. I just going to say car1 equal to, I just say new, and it is going to be obj2, and here I just going to give the name. It's going to be, I just say apple. Okay, apple car, that's fine. 2050. Okay, so the x I just say true like this. Okay, so now if I ask for console.log, if I go for car1, okay, likewise you can see now we open our console JSPin, it shows everything. So I just go for the console, clear it out, and if I run it, so the first, it says superb. Okay, not superb, it's superb. Okay, so I just clear it out and right click, go for the inspect, clear, and if I run it, you can able to see this is the car function, the before prototype. And how it is created, simply I give an example like here. So how it is created, this one, it's an object, it is created by this prototype. So you can able to see it if I click this prototype, and that prototype has the constructor and the start function, right? So if I click this, you can able to have constructor and start type. And how this prototype is created, by using constructor, another object constructor prototype. If you click here, you can able to see the entire object that is created. That is the actual JavaScript. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I just want to look through this one. So let us go here. How this object is created? Well, this is created by this prototype. Okay, this is created by this prototype. I just click here, you can able to see and prototype of obj. So what is that obj? So this is the prototype that is created, and this prototype, it is created by another prototype. You can click here, you can able to see the end and the constructor that has been returned, it is here. End and constructor is here. So how this prototype is created? Well, this prototype is created by using this prototype, right? We are extending the prototype from that. So let us go further. Let us go further towards down. You can able to see the constructor and start function. We can able to access it. You can able to access those things also. So if I go down, you can able to see the actual JavaScript. Still down, there is nothing here. So now you can able to see this prototype. This prototype created, it only have end function, not the start function, right? So if I use dot end, and it will be used as end, you can able to see it is going to give us as end. That's what it is going to do. But the same thing, if I use the start, it is going to give us start also. Why? Because how the object is working, well, the start and end function, they are not in their own place, right? So where they are in the prototype. So when I ask for start, what is happening? It just go for the top of its parent, which means who created it. It asks for, hey, something, the start function is you have. So it is look into this function. I have constructor and I have end. I don't have start. So then what happened, it still further go for top of the prototype, and it is look for whether you have the start function or not. Likewise, it will ask for it. Yes, I have the start function, so you can use it. So I can able to use it. So that is how whenever you are creating a string, like let a is equal to hello world. So it is a string, right? So then how we can able to use a methods like two uppercase, two lowercase. They are string, they are not an object, right? So how they can, we can able to use the method. We will use something like dot start, like two uppercase, two lowercase. Where are they? They are in the top of object prototype. Who constructed it? So when I am giving a string and a constructor function is running, that constructor function is creating a string, and that string is further what it is happening, it just that string is created, and when I use the type of, it is giving the type of string and everything. And whenever I'm asking two string or uppercase, two lowercase and everything, what is happening, it is not in that particular string object, it is go for the top of the prototype, and it asks for its whether you have the two lowercase or not, two uppercase or not. Like that it will ask it and it will get it. Okay, so that is what everyone say, the JavaScript is an object. The JavaScript is everything in JavaScript is an object, but the main thing is JavaScript is not the object that you are thinking. It is not a class based object. Classes, it's just a syntax. It's not a class based object oriented programming language. Classes are just a syntax, but JavaScript we can able to use object oriented programming, we can able to use, and we can able to achieve the function oriented way. They are both, they are flexible. So if you can see the React, so you right now you are coming with the words hooks and the functions, and function components are much better. How? Because of this flexibility, we can either use classes, that is object oriented, and functions, that is function oriented. So we can able to come up with that. Okay, so that is the answer here. So that's for today's. So here we have covered about the constructor, factory, and classes. Prototypal inheritance, still we have much more to discuss, but the one thing is classes. So classes, you need to understand what is the problem. So the problem is repetition and memory management. For repetition, we have the factory function and we stop the repetition, just creating a function. But the memory management, it's not stopped. So that's why it's just we find out another solution by using the constructor function. We have done with that, and we have come up with once we done with the constructor function. Actually, there are two ways to solve. One is constructor function, in another one is using object or create method. That is not that much object oriented, but this is fine. Object constructor function. So with the help of this prototype, we can able to add a function in the prototype. So we stop the memories. We just stop the memory occupation. We can able to stop it. Once that is done, what happened, using that syntax is much more weird, using prototype dash dash proto, like that, it's much more weird. So that is why we come up with another concept. We have come up with the syntactic sugar, not an concept, syntactic sugar, which under the hood they are going to follow the prototype inheritance. That is called as classes. So with the help of classes, even more, it is simple, it is easy usable, and also it is following the toughest words like prototypes and also. So we are able to achieve it, and we want to act as a prototypal inheritance. Classes make that very simple with the help of the extends keyword and super keyword. So now classes, with the help of classes, we can able to achieve the object oriented programming language, we can able to achieve. But the only thing is, it is under the hood, it is a prototypal inheritance, it is following the prototypal inheritance. So that's what about all about classes and the evolution how happening in the object oriented programming. So this is the problem, fix, and problem solution, further solution, keeps on increasing. Well, now we have the classes, then classes inheritance, now it keeps on increasing, in future it will be fixed, like that. Okay, so that's all about the classes and the object oriented ways that we want to cover in this advanced concept. We have done with that. In the next class, we have go with the hoistings, closures, and immediately working functions. Everything we will discuss that. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can reach us in the WhatsApp group and LinkedIn, whatever the page that you like to reach, you can reach it out. So that's all for today. See you in this exact timing tomorrow. Thank you all.